Okay, so as I was saying, sometimes when you have a business, you're so involved in the business that your own research tends to slack off. And I had wanted to investigate full text search, but it was one of those things I kept pushing down the pike a little bit until I would have time to actually do some research about it. And then Roots Tech came, and David, we met. I had a great presentation on this FamilySearch Full Text Search. I highly recommend that you watch it. It's free. It's going to go into a lot more detail than I go into here today. At the end of the recording, I'll post it in the chat, so you'll have a link to his presentation. And I also recommend that you download his slides, because he has some very good slides on wildcard searching with asterisks and parentheses, and all the ways that you can maximize your searches results, getting back just the results that you want. So right now, we're just going to do the very basics of full text search. Now, really quickly, what is full text search? In the past, before we really had AI mixing in with genealogy technology, we had OCR, which is optical character recognition, as the way to that computers could look at documents. And it was okay, it wasn't great. It needed some manual help from people to scan and to pick out the words that were important. Before that, we had people actually reading through documents and creating indexes. So with an index, what you would have is just the specific information that people would copy down, and they would make a database that you could search. So for instance, if you had an immigration, let's say a passenger manifest, the person who was doing the indexing might copy down things like the name of the ship, the date of arrival, the name of the person, the place they were coming from, perhaps. But if they didn't capture something, or if they mistyped or misread, then the index would be wrong, and you wouldn't be able to search to find this data, so you would know what record to look for. You were only as good as your index. Now, what AI does, and again, David goes into this in more depth. What AI does is to use both handwriting recognition for handwritten records, plus knowledge of the language and knowledge of the types of records, to search the entire page. So you don't have to worry about what someone wrote down in an index, because they're looking at every word on the page. And that will give you much more information than you would have earlier. So there's more of a chance of finding your people in records, even if they weren't part of an index. So in FamilySearch, there are 3 different ways that you could use full text searching, and I'm going to take you through all 3 of them. So let's see, let me just check for new people before we start this. Nope, no new people. Okay. So here you see I have the FamilySearch homepage, and on it is your basic search right here on the right-hand side, where it asks your first name, last name, and location and year. So the person I'm going to be using is my great-grandmother on my father's side, and her name was Agnes Heaney. And one of the interesting things about that is that Heaney, it's spelled a million different ways in records. This is the official spelling, but I've seen it spelled with 1 N. I've seen it spelled with 2 N's and 1 E. You know, with an IE instead of a Y. So this is a good example for this kind of AI search, because AI knows to capture some of those different spellings. I'm looking for her in New York, and she was born in Connecticut in 1889, and somewhere in her childhood, uh, she and her family moved first to New York City and then to Hudson County in New Jersey. But there's a period of time, about maybe 15 to 20 years between the time she was born and the time she got married, that I really don't know where she and her family were at all. There were some rumors that they were in upstate New York, but I have nothing really to prove that. I have a couple of like small documents, but nothing that I would say, well, this meets the standard of a genealogical proof. And I'm looking for more information about that time period. So her birthday was, I think it was 1889, but I'm going to put 85 just so we can capture a little bit, cast a little bit of a wider net. And I will hit search. Now, this is a search that most of you have probably done if you've used FamilySearch, and this should be fairly recognizable. I have all of my filters here. Most of these, like the birth, marriage, and death censuses, all of that is indexed records. So the old way that things were done, the computer is just searching on those indexed fields. And you can see here, I have some census data that's come up. I know this is not her because I know for sure she was not in Massachusetts in 1940, and definitely not in 1920. By then, I have plenty of records of her being in New Jersey. But if I look down all of these collections, down at the bottom, we have this full text search. So I'm going to click on this, and it uses the information I already put in. And here we have our full text search field. So the interesting thing about this for me, and I was really excited the first time I did this search, was we have information on her in a time that I wasn't sure where she is. She's probably about 9 or 10 years old in 1896. And it's in upstate New York. So if I look at Dutchess County, is about maybe about 75 miles north of Manhattan. So it seems like an interesting record for me to look at. So I can open this record. And now the nice thing about these kind of full text records is that the computer will provide a transcript of the entire record. So here, if I make this a little bigger, this is the last will and testament of I forgot what her name was. Anyway, it was somebody had, Agnes Graham, that's who it was. Agnes Graham had passed away, and this was one of the documents that had to do with her will. And one of the interesting things is that Agnes Heaney, my great-grandmother, or someone named Agnes Heaney, was named as a beneficiary in this will. And I am not an expert. I am not even an intermediary when it comes to legal documents. I am a rank beginner when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I was very excited because I didn't know anything about my great-grandmother during this time. And if I scroll down, the AI will highlight the portions of the record here in the transcript that it has highlighted on the screen. So I can see exactly where in the transcript this information has been used. And in fact, if I hover over a highlighted piece of the transcript, you'll see on the transcript side, you'll see the same name with the same word is highlighted in blue, as is on the transcript. So it's really easy to keep your place in these kinds of things. What I did with this, since, like I said, I don't know anything about legal documents, is I took the transcript and I put it into ChatGPT and said, give me a basic understanding of what this transcript is saying, because I don't know. And it turned out it had something to do with the executor was filing. I think the original executor had passed away, so this was a backup executor, and there were a number of different documents having to do with that piece of probate for the will. So I didn't know if this was my Agnes Heaney. However, it also named her mother, Margaret Heaney, and in my records, in my family tree, I do have a Margaret Heaney as the mother of Agnes Heaney. So this was a piece of evidence that made me very excited. So I wanted to do more and look at it more. So I'm gonna go back to my results, and then I start going through the other documents that are here, and they're all part of the same probate of Agnes Graham's will. And I can scroll down. There are probably about 30 documents here, and I'm not going to go through each one, but that is how you get into full text search from the main page. You'll take your, let me go back to the original. Well, I could just do it again. It'll be easier, it'll be quicker. You start from here. You put in your person's name. And when you get your results, it's down here on the bottom. And that's how I got to full text search in this way. So put in information on the main page, scroll down to full text search, and then here you have your results. The second way to do full text search, let me go back to the beginning, is if you go under search in the menu on the top left and look at the types of searches, you have a full text search here. So in the first round of searching, we put our information in, and then we looked for full text search. In this way, this method, you're going to search and pick your full text records first before you start putting in any information. And that takes you to this page. And all this page does is search full text records. Now, I want to point out down on the bottom here, the image group numbers. Whenever FamilySearch does any kind of searching, it searches a certain group of records. And it could be a small group of records if you're looking, for instance, specifically for immigration records in Des Moines, Iowa, or in Washington, D.C. You'll pick that small group of records, or relatively small, and then search on those records. For this full text search, these image groups are billions of records. David Umet goes into that in his presentation, specifically the types of records. But even though you only see 2 image group numbers here, they are many billions of records large. So we are searching a great deal of information. Now here, the search criteria is a little different. You'll remember in the full text, in the search in the beginning, I had to put in first name in one box, last name in a second box, then place, and then date. Here, in addition to all that, I can put in keywords, and I have a range of years as opposed to one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in Agnes Heaney again. I will put in New York and select New York State. And I'll say from 1885 to let's give it 20 years to 1905. I'm going to leave keywords blank for now, and I'll hit search. Now, this should give me a larger group of records. It's a little slow. You have to wait a minute for it to come up. Because I've given it a 20-year range. I haven't specified that I just want legal records. I just want to see what it gives me. So, for instance, I get this Louisville, Kentucky newspaper, and you'll see I have Agnes and Heaney, but they're not the same name. It's a Frank Heaney and an Agnes Lavin, or whatever her last name is. So that isn't something that's as important to me. But then again, on the second one, now here's one of my probate records. And because Agnes Heaney doesn't have quotation marks around it, we're searching for Agnes and Heaney as two separate words. It also now picks up the Heaney from Margaret Heaney, her mother. So that's interesting too. It also picks up the Agnes in Agnes Graham, who was the person, the deceased, who left the will in the first place. So let me go back, and it always gives me a problem going back. All right, let's do this again. All right, so I go search, full text search. And now if I put in Agnes Heaney in quotes, so now I want the words Agnes and Heaney together, and I'll put in New York State. I'll give it the same date range, 1885 to 1905. Lori, I see your question. Full text search is not only for U.S. records. It is, when they first started using full text search, they predominantly started using certain languages that AI was known to be more accurate with, and those tended to be alphabets that use languages that use the Roman alphabet. So a lot of it is in English because a lot of records are in English. There's also Italian, Spanish, French. A lot of the Romance languages are what they started with. And now I think David had said that they're moving into a lot of the Asian languages. So there's some Chinese, there's some Japanese, and they're moving out with the different alphabet sets and the different kinds of languages that come from those. But the original set of records are mostly have to do with or related to the Romance languages. So you're going to get a lot of English records, therefore American records, or American, Australia, England, United Kingdom, because that just happened to be what they started with. So let me okay. All right. So, and let me put under keywords probate records, and let's see what we get now. All right, so since I've put more criteria in, I just now get my probate record. And this is one that was in 1898. I know for a fact that this there was a lot of legal back and forth with this documents, and it took a long time for the funds to actually be dispersed. So I'm a little skeptical myself about this only coming back to the one record, because I know there are other records there. I think that the actual disbursement happened in 1906. There was a lot going on in between. But the fact that I have this record, all of the probate records, or most of them, are kept together. So now that I have my record through full text search, I can move forward one, and I know that this is still um, the same document. I can move back one, and it's still part of the same document. Yeah, this is the newspaper article saying that, you know, we have to make an announcement because Agnes Graham has died and we have her will and we need to go into probate. So at least the full text search has helped me find this set of records. So so that's the second way to do it. You go and search, full text search, and then it gives you, doing that gives you more control over your criteria, because you can use things like the wildcards, the parentheses to keep data together, the you have the ability to use keywords, and you have more control over your dates. So the third way to use full text search is something called FamilySearch Labs. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this. I hadn't heard of it, and I'm very interested in this now. Labs are where FamilySearch starts testing out new functionality that it may want to put forward. So for those of you who know what beta testing is, this is kind of a beta test where they've created something new, they've put it through their own internal testing, and now they're releasing it to the public and telling people, hey, if you want to try this, you know, it may still have some mistakes in it, but it's something new that we're putting out. And the more people that try it out and let us know the pros and cons, the better it is for us. And there are a number of different, they call them experiments, a couple of different projects here. So we've got, we have 8. So there's something about improved person change log, which I think is great, because when other people start messing with my family tree, it sometimes there's some back and forth until we both agree on who should be on the family tree. The MyHeritage messages that they're incorporating into the family search tree. And here is simple search. So you'll see here that all of these have the try it button if you're trying it the first time, but simple search says turn off. That's because I've tried it already. The first time I used it, I had the try it button. I clicked on try it, and it took me to the experiment. And now it could tell me that if I can want to turn it off, I can. But I'll click to go to the experiment. And what the simple search is, it's a full text search, but it is just one text box. And it's very similar to using an AI chat text box. So if you're giving instructions to Gemini or ChatGPT or something like that, this is a very similar type of thing. So I can put in here, I am searching for Agnes Heaney, who lived in New York State from 1885 to 1905. And now notice I didn't put quotes or any of it. This is that one simple sentence. I hit enter, or I hit the search bar, and let's see what I get. And here again, I get the case files. Here I get more of the individual documents that I got in the last way we searched. So I would say, as an experiment in the lab, if I was to give them feedback, it would be positive, because this way I'm getting more files back than I did the other way. And I don't know if that was because I put more information in here, or it was the way I put the information in. that I just gave it one sentence as opposed to a couple of finite pieces of information. But here we get a number of different files having to do with the will of Agnes Graham and Agnes Heaney as her beneficiary. So those are the three ways that you can use family text search, full text search in FamilySearch. From the main page, from the search full text, and from FamilySearch Labs. And I just realized to get to FamilySearch Labs, you type in familysearch.org into your browser and then hit a backspace and just put LABS, and that page will come back up. So there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put FamilySearch Labs into the chat so you have that link, and then I'm going to put David Grimet's where is my chat? There is my chat. FamilySearch, his Roots Tech session into the chat. So that's the FamilySearch Labs. And here is, definitely check this out. And if you don't want to sit and listen to the whole thing, you can, down below, you can download his syllabus and download the slides. And I highly recommend the slides. I don't want to show them here because they're under his copyright, and they're not mine, so I can't share them. But he has some really good slides on searching with wildcards and those quotes and using asterisks and all the different ways that you can improve your search. And here is that link. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Has anyone else used this before? Anybody want to give any feedback on it? I definitely think, to my mind, this is something that's going to be very helpful for me, especially with those people who are my brick walls, the people I may have had problems with in other ways, because the full text search will search entire documents instead of just the indexed portions. All right, I don't see any questions, so I think we're good for today. I'm going to cut it a little short. Like I said, my typing isn't the best right now, so I think this is good for today. I will post this video tomorrow, so you'll be able to see it on YouTube, and I'll send out the link to the newsletter and put it on the Facebook page, so you'll be able to get to it from several different ways. Thank you for sharing your Saturday afternoon or morning with me, and we will get together. We'll have another one of these next month. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.